on social media, I equated it to Captain Tom Moore, that this is something that is beyond whether you like rugby league or not, whether you follow sport or not. This is touching a nation's humanity at a time when they really need it most, and it's about friendship and camaraderie and humanity and what it means to, well, Claire Balding said it this morning on Breakfast Telly. It's an expression of love in its purest form. And if ever the world needed an expression of love, it's now what everybody's been through. I, I mean, apart from the fact that he's done a ridiculous physical endurance feat, which Dainka will be able to speak to us about how phenomenal that is, as with the greatest respect to the two gentlemen on my screen here, she is the athlete amongst us.
Loosely.
But what people probably don't realise as much is the amount of work Kevin's done around this whole thing. The media conferences he's done, the vlogs he's done with sufferers of MND, the fact that he's never lost sight of the fact that Rob is his primary inspiration, but it's about everybody who's suffering from this terrible disease, and the raising awareness has been as important as raising funds, and the work that you have to put into that while your body is absolutely aching and you need to, well, for me, I'd be, laying on a bed in a dark room crying. But he's needed to be in ice baths and refuel himself. But he's even put all of that to one side to make sure that this message was continually got across. And I think that's a measure of the man. It's very hard to sum it up, because I think, having had the privilege of watching him lead a team, this doesn't come as a surprise. This is who he is. This is what he believes. He's got a wonderful set of parents who brought him up in a way whereby humanity is first and foremost, and this is an expression of it. So yeah, we could all get very emotional about this, but there's two levels. One is what he's done is phenomenal, and we shouldn't, quite rightly, extol that. The other thing is, he has put rugby league in a place that even the sensational grand final that Andrew just talked about hasn't been able to do. Now, that's not a criticism of anybody. It's hard to get rugby league noticed. But when somebody trends for an entire day, when somebody who is not known by other sports people until he does something like this, and yet they're all putting out how very rugby league this is, and it doesn't surprise them, then he's done so much more than what he thinks he's done, or what he'll allow himself to take the credit for doing. And again, one of the things I find absolutely amazing is he will never refer to himself. He always talks about the team. It has to be about the team. It's the team of people I've had around me. It's the team that have got the media exposure. It's the team that are around Rob Burrow. But actually, what this is, and I don't care if he doesn't want to hear it, it's about him. He's an exceptional man.
Yeah, it's just incredible, isn't it? Because there was a big quote today where his wife said to him, if we were to double the amount of money, would you do it again? He would, just without even questioning it, said yes. And that, like you say, Phil, it goes on to just show you how much of a phenomenal man he is, because he didn't even want to think about his body or what it must be going through. Like, seriously, what that must be going through. The idea of raising the money and doubling it automatically was just a yes. And that's, I can't even begin to imagine how tired he's feeling, how sore he's feeling, regardless of how well he's been looked after, his recovery, his nutrition, the physios, the ice baths or whatever. They're under no doubt that his body is hurting. And to just say, yes, I'd do it again is, I don't know, I don't even know if you can comprehend that.
I'm not saying he doesn't keep fit still, but he's been retired a few years. It's not as if he's in peak playing condition either, is it?
Well, it gives him an opportunity, doesn't it? He has trained a different way. He is a runner now, and I'm not saying that that's anything, but no, he doesn't have to train anymore, doesn't have to stay fit. He does it purely now. Well, for the fun of it, I think once you're an athlete, you've always got the element of needing to keep fit or needing to do something, and exercise is the way to release that. But it's a totally different way, like you go from being a rugby player where you have to think about your strength, your power, maybe your speed, maybe your agility, or you think about your skill-based stuff, and it's completely different. Whereas I can honestly hold my hands up to anybody that can run for that length of time. As much as he's had a team around him, it's quite difficult to chat whilst you're running that. And under 4 hours every single time, he's going at some pace, you know. So he's not going to be able to communicate that well. So it's not like he's standing having a chat with his mates. It's quite a solitary kind of exercise as well, isn't it? Like, you have got people cheering you on and things, but you're in your own head a lot there, you know. And for a guy that thinks and is about the people and about the bigger picture, he's doing a lot of thinking, isn't he?
You know, here's the problem, Andrew. We support rival sides to Leeds. You've obviously been at the wrong end of results in grand finals. I mean, they show the Rob Burrow try all the time in the minute. You know, we're just happy to beat them every so often. The problem is, as much as I say we all hate Leeds and all that, they're just too classy a club, and you just have to respect them. And it sticks in the throat, doesn't it, Andrew? It sticks in the throat.
You know what, though? It just makes me reflect there's some incredibly special people play this sport. You know, you look at what Kevin's done this week, which is absolutely sensational. Rob himself, Mossy Meso, and obviously the great Steve Prescott. And what they overcome mentally as well as the physical challenge is absolutely remarkable. And maybe we shouldn't be surprised, because rugby league is that ultimate test of mind, body, and soul, if you like. But I think we're really lucky to follow this sport, because to have people like that associated with the sport who are so inspirational, will even let them have the four grand finals that they did against us. So, you know, that's that nice as it can be, I think.
Phil, you know him better than most because you've been around Leeds for so long, and as has Sir Kevin. It strikes me that there's no ego here. You see plenty of times people do things for charity, and it's all about them and how well they've done, and oh, here I am with a big check and whatever. And as you say, we should praise him rightly, but this is not about Kevin. To Kevin Sinfield, this is not about Kevin Sinfield.
He wouldn't do it if it was going to be about him. I think it's a tweet. Can you hear me?
There's some noise from somewhere trying to work out where it's from. Oh, it's Dainka, that's why. I've muted you both. You can put yourself back on in a minute. Phil, speak.
So, sorry, start again. Yeah, I mean, ego is a word that isn't part of his vocabulary, and there was a tweet, and there have been so many. I can't remember who it was from, but I think it was a Wigan player who said, you know, you can see now why Leeds was so hard to beat when he was the captain of the team, and I think that is all part of it. I don't really know where to start with Kevin, because whilst we say he embodies all of the qualities of the sport, there aren't too many people even within the sport that are as selfless as he is. And he would hate this to be turning into the kind of eulogy that it is. But that's the truth. And when he came back to Headingley and started saying things like, you know, need to get the culture back, for want of a better expression, none of us really fully understood what that meant. But he knew in his mind the kind of people that he wanted within the club, and the kind of attitude that was side before self, to borrow a phrase from down the road in Leeds. And I think the illustration of that came yesterday, because he's had a couple of running partners who are mentally extremely strong, which is needed alongside him, who were guys he used to play with. So, you know, Jamie Peacock runs alongside you, you're going to try and match him stride for stride. But Jamie doesn't say a lot. Yesterday, I think Kevin's admitted, was the toughest day for him, the sixth one. He had all the emotion of the Saturday night, a Saturday afternoon meeting Rob, which I'm told Kevin didn't know he was going to be there. So as well as being tired and trying to cope with the physical endurance, he's got that emotional pull as well. And so Sunday then became a really tough day, and it started out in the dark and the pouring rain, and it was going around the same course that he'd been the day before. But he had with him Jamie Jones Buchanan. Now Jamie was only supposed to run, I think, about just more than a half marathon, because he doesn't really do marathons. I think he's done one in his entire life, and he'd said during the week that after 18 miles his body falls apart. But not only did he stick in there and do the whole marathon, chivying Kev along all the way, And not only did he eat a Mars bar halfway through, which apparently is unheard of in marathon running, but he did it in under 4 hours. And there's no way he should be able to do that. And I think when you've got people like that supporting you, and that's the kind of person that Kevin's brought into the club on the coaching staff, I think you can start to get a picture of what Kevin would mean by culture. I think Dainka's probably best placed, again, from all of us, to talk about dressing rooms and leadership and captaincy, and how teams, when they look at each other, can see the whites of their comrades' eyes and know that they're going to get through a really dark place together. I don't think those of us who watch it and are privileged enough to write about it understand anything of that, which is why it's absolute complete nonsense that you ever have to mark a player. But I am bowled over by this, and I know he won't want to take the credit, but I just think for a minute we need to focus on his life values and say, with full sentiment, the world would be a better place if we were just all a little bit more Kev.
Do you reckon Pete Smith's been marking his marathons out of 10 in the paper this week?
Well, I noticed he hasn't been doing.
Well,
You've muted yourself, Dainka. You unmuted yourself, now you've muted yourself again.
well, I can't do technology. I play rugby, I'm a prop. What do you expect?
Okay. So that's fine.
Do you know, we had last season both Kev and Jonesy came in and spoke to us at different points of the season. And the first one was Kev. And when we moved from being part of the foundation, so we were Leeds Rhinos women as part of the Leeds Rhinos Foundation, so the community side. And then obviously being successful in 2018, we came across and we were then under the banner of the men and the Leeds Rhinos team. And we were as one. Kev came in and he delivered the same PowerPoint that he delivered to the men's team. And it was about the culture and what it means to wear the badge and how important the badge is. And again, I think he's not necessarily wearing Leeds Rhinos badge at the minute. He is, because obviously teammates and the history and everything. But he's wearing the MNDA badge, but he's also wearing that number 7 badge. And it talks about how much of a privilege it was for him to wear the vest that had number 7 on. And one of Kev's things that you kind of always remember, it's kind of about expectation versus how you want to be perceived. And the expectation could be that Leeds Rhinos are a great club. The expectation could be that Kev Sinfield is a great man, but it's not good enough to live alone and to ride that expectation wave. You have to earn it yourself. And it's all about, personally, do you believe that you should be wearing that badge? Or personally, have you worked hard enough for that? Or are you doing what you can for your teammate in order to do that badge the honour? And I think that's exactly how he lives his life and lives, this has run this extraordinary, ridiculous amount of mileage by knowing himself that he's done that badge honour. And the badge's time, it means so much more than the Leeds Rhino badge. Like, obviously, to play for Leeds Rhinos is an incredible feat, to win the medals and the trophies that he's won, to captain the side for such a long time. But I don't think that comes anywhere close to running for your best mate, for your teammate, or for such a huge, debilitating disease that is, hasn't yet found a cure. So he's running for such a bigger kind of purpose at the minute that he's doing that badge of Rob and of MND. So proud that he literally lives by that, and the same with JJB. He came in and he gives us so many analogies and so many stories, as you can probably guess with Jonesy. But he talks about an egg, and what's the most important part of that egg being the middle and being the yolk, and the shell is the thin outer layer, then you've got the white, and each layer is a layer of the team and is a layer of your support. And how do you maintain the strength of that inner part of the egg? I know it's really random, and when he first put a picture of an egg on the board, we were all like, Jonesy, I know you're philosophical, mate, but this is gone west. But again, yeah, I heard that Jonesy wasn't meant to run as far as he ran yet, but it doesn't surprise me. The guy doesn't have a limit. The guy doesn't have an end button. I've never known somebody push as hard or work as hard or be able to break barriers as much as Jonesy does. So it was absolutely not a surprise at all. But having had those two both speak to us on a rugby point of view, taking all of what they said, their ethos, their morals, their values, anything that encompasses who they are and what they work for, it absolutely resonates in what they've done and how they've done it. So it is an incredible thing.
I mean, not to give people a clue as when we're recording this, but the ITV News is on in front of me, and there he is, doing his running and talking to everyone.
What do you mean you watch ITV?
Well, I was watching BBC earlier, I flicked over. I watch all the channels. I'll put Al Jazeera on, see if he's on there later. I guess to wrap up this bit, Andrew, and you mentioned Steve Prescott earlier, it's people who use their celebrity is the wrong word, their status to do good for other people, and as you say, it's a trait in many people involved in our sport, thankfully.
Yeah, it's that selfless nature of people, and I think when you're going through something that's incredibly painful, like this horrible, debilitating disease, to think about raising money and raising awareness and putting other people first. I watched the BBC documentary on Rob, and I found it a really difficult watch. It took me quite a few goals to get all the way through it because his dignity, his bravery, it's absolutely incredible. And I think that go back to, I think there's something special about the people who play this sport. They've got something about them that sets them apart from us mere mortals.
Do you know, there's two things that strike me there. The first is, you know, what can we get Kevin to do now that builds on this? Now, that's not for us to tell him what to do, but I just think it will be a lost opportunity for the sport because of the profile he's given it. If we can't, you know, being an ambassador for the World Cup is fine. It's going to be front and centre, but he now has got an influence and he's got a voice that maybe nobody else in the sport has at the moment. And he's not into personal accolades, so people can say he deserves a knighthood as much as they like. I'm not even sure he'd want one. He's not that kind of a person. But certainly, I think we need to find a role for him. And I don't mean that I don't want him to be the director of rugby at Leeds. I just think he now has the ear of virtually everyone in the country: politicians, sports people, administrators, funds, sponsors, broadcasters. He is probably everything we've been calling for all the time we've been doing this program. That needs a spokesperson, and he could be that. So let's get him in the jungle.
Oh no, you know, put him in the jungle, get him on Strictly. At least then you get to, you know, do some dancing for weeks, and you're in the warm.
No. The jungle's a better one.
Yeah, but it's only in Wales this year, and no offense to our Welsh. Yeah, no. At least if it's in Australia, he gets to go, you know, over there and in.
Yeah, so he's got a whole...
when it gets kicked out.
Yeah, so this one's finished. So it's next year we'll be back in Australia.
Danica, Strictly's on BBC. Remember your loyalty.
Yeah, hang on, yeah.
Yeah, I also know this, but also as a dancing background, I know which one I prefer.
When you're a female sports,
well, we've cracked
dancing
it.
On ice.
You on Strictly, Kevin in the jungle.
Oh no, I want to go on the ice.
They won't like the people won't like you on Strictly anyway because of your dance background. They'd be annoyed at you. You see.
Yeah, but they don't know who I am, so you just pretend that I'm not a dancer. I just go in as a pro, big burly. I'll put on a few kgs beforehand. I reckon I can manage that.
7 marathons in 7 days, yeah. The chocolate.
Oh, I mean, what, Snickers? Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
That's about my limit.
I like the peanuts. So yeah, well, Strictly, dancing on ice. At least don't send him on Big Brother though. That's you know.
No, I mean taking that, you know, paternalistic role on in the jungle that I don't watch clearly, and doing the old putting his arm around everybody and being the rock and the confidant. And if Kevin wasn't here, we'd never have got through the trials. And you know, obvious next step for him, isn't it?
He could go on the Crystal Maze like Gareth Thomas was on last week. So you know that's the basis of my article next month because there's nothing else on TV.
I don't know if we're selling this short now because you know we're clutching, aren't we?
I'm joking.
I know I'm not, but I mean, 100% would want to go on one of them. Get him on one of them.
Well, I mean, there hasn't. I did the analysis of this earlier this year. I think since Sir Ellery on Dancing on Ice. I don't think there's been a rugby league person on. I know Martin Chariots Offia of the chant fame, which is always a load of nonsense propaganda.
Yeah.
On the first season of first series rather of Strictly, but no, rugby league people don't. Even on Celebrity MasterChef, where the bar is very low as to what is a celebrity. What's going?
Oh, I'd struggle on that program. I don't think beans and toast is that much of a meal, is it?